Live with balanced news you can count on. This is News 4 at 4.
Speaking of shade, there are things you can do to plant and keep your house cool and reduce your energy bill. Our 5-minute gardener, Debbie Mounds from Harlow Gardens, shows us.
We in modern times can certainly take cues from some of our ancestors and some of the native people that lived here by cooling our house in the summertime with plants. And there are many ways to do that and many ways that plants can help with cooling. The first, of course, is an obvious one, which is shade. A large-leafed tree, some of the shade trees, can drop the temperature in your house and the wall that it's shading by anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees. And as we Tucsonans know, those 5 to 10 degrees can make a huge difference in how we feel and how our cooling bills, our TEP bills feel also. The other way that plants can shade is something like, the way you can shade with plants, pardon me, is by using some of the vines that we have that are so tenacious. I'm standing here in front of one called a cat's claw vine, and that, what you want to do is you want to mount it on the wall, but leaving a little bit of space. We generally recommend about 6 inches, so mount your trellis about 6 inches away from the wall to prevent moisture in your wall and also get air circulation back behind that vine. Again, that can cool your house by anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees. The other way you can do that with cooling your yard or your patio is by grouping plants together, because their natural transpiration of water creates a little humid zone, and just that humidity around a grouping of plants can bring down the temperature on your patio, whether it be in pots or on the edge of your patio with a grouping of plants together. All of these things together are ancient techniques that were used before we ever came along that really can make a difference in your summer Tucson life. The other thing you want to make sure and do with some of your trees, I forgot to talk about the deciduous trees. Generally your deciduous trees, and deciduous just means it drops its leaves in the winters, those are the trees that generally are going to have the bigger leaves. Our desert trees can also shade, but your bigger leaf trees like your ashes, some of your elms and things like that, those are going to be denser shade, and those are the ones that are going to cool and let you get some heat on the house in the wintertime. Okay, stay cool.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do these days. And we should also mention that cat's claw, it really sticks to the wall. So if you really love your stucco, you know, when you want to repaint, yes, it'll tear off the stucco.
You got to be a little bit careful. Yeah. That and ivy are like famous for doing that. But they certainly do a good job of cooling. The ivy, not so much because it's always on the north side of the house, but certainly the cat's claw does a fabulous job of cooling. And that's the reason, that's another reason that we really recommend putting a space behind it so that you don't have it directly attached to your house.
What else do you recommend?
Well, there's a couple other plants that really, we have a tree in the nursery which is a real desert tree called a Texas ebony tree. And it is a thick, dense tree, even though, again, it's a desert tree that has small leaves on it. And it is an evergreen tree, which means it holds its leaves all year long. It is, it looks really more like what you'd consider a traditional tree. It's nice and lush green all the time. It hardly looks any different, and it provides wonderful shade.
What about water usage? Does it take a lot of water?
It does not take a lot of water. It's a really excellent choice for some of our desert gardens.
And cat's claw and the ivy, does that attract bugs and little critters that you don't want?
Well, anything that's up near your house is certainly going to attract bugs, but generally the moisture is where you can get in trouble with some of those things. That certainly is a consideration. Sure. If it's in a spot that's an undesirable thing, you may want to do a tree instead planted, you know, a little bit further away from the house where you don't have those kinds of problems.
Sure.
And certainly Martha's right about the stucco and stuff. You do have to be careful with that.
I've seen it just take chunks off when you pull it.
I know, and they can grow up into the beams, into the seams and stuff up
along. Well, they go down the chimney too.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much,
Debbie. Thank you.
Appreciate it.